And leading the way with a breaking update on that big story out of Whitewater Township, where an evacuation order is still in effect after a dangerous chemical leak. Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Mitchell.
I'm Stephen Albritton. That leak came from a train car along Hamilton Cleves Road. Let's listen into the officials now.
Nothing has changed as it relates to the public safety concerns. We're still maintaining a half-mile evacuation zone. Additionally, the roads that are closed will remain closed for an undetermined amount of time. And a lot of that is determined by what the experts report back over time. They're monitoring that. With me today, I have John Kiefer and Tom Chuba from Central Railroad of Indiana to answer or provide a statement on their behalf. They're the ones responsible for the railroad. John, whoever.
Good morning. As it stands right now, the rail car is no longer venting. We are still working with the professionals through this process to ensure the safety of the community as well as the emergency responders.
Crews are still testing the air, trying to...
That is correct. The air quality is still being monitored and tested as we speak.
Do we know how this happened?
We don't yet know the specifics of how this happened. Right now, we're focused on mitigating the situation, and then, of course, there will be thorough investigations into what caused the incident.
How are your employees?
The railroad employees are good. No concerns there. Everyone is safe and as normal.
Now, we keep saying undetermined amount of time, and I understand that this is a very fluid situation, but what message can you give to the community, these people who have to literally drop everything and leave their homes, leave their pets behind?
We're working as safely as possible to mitigate this as quickly as possible. We understand the inconvenience.
So no one has been let back to get their pets or anything like that?
At this time, the evacuation order is still in place.
Are there any risks of implosion, this exploding? I know last night you said no, but what does that look like right now?
The tank car has stopped venting, as I mentioned before, and that's really where we're at. We're letting the professionals continue to do their job on that side.
Are there any health concerns outside of the evacuation area?
Not at this time.
Do you anticipate keeping that tanker stabilized, cool, an issue, or are you confident that you'll be able to keep that going and the threat of explosion, and not really be an issue here?
The tank car is still continuing to be monitored and will until the professionals feel that it is deemed safe to move.
Can you talk at all about the water and air concerns when it comes to this specific chemical?
Like I mentioned before, the air quality is still being monitored as well as the water being sampled as well to ensure that it is safe.
When can we expect those answers?
I believe we should be able to provide more update later.
As far as any, I know that there were a few tests done, just people who were maybe exposed to it. You don't have any reports of any injuries, any people showing any symptoms right now?
At this point, we have not received any calls as it related to the incident. So, yes, and I know it was asked yesterday evening if we knew of anything. We do not have any results.
One question I do have, this is actually from a viewer, they're concerned. So they don't live in this area, they live in Dent. They said that they can smell the chemical leak. Their family members in Cheviot, Coleraine can as well. So they're worried about this maybe traveling eastward in the wind. What can you say to that?
I can't answer to that. That's pretty far away from this event.
Is that possible, that these winds have carried that?
I don't know. I haven't read any of the plume models.
Okay.
I don't know.
Does this kind of thing happen often in your experience with rail?
Not here.
In my experience with rail, no, it does not.
Is this going to impact any of the water pressure for any of the other people around the area, like any of the water that's being used on the train?
In the fire suppression efforts that we've undertaken, we've worked very closely with the Cleves Water Company as well as Cincinnati Waterworks. They have a very good cooperative effort between the two. There should be no impact whatsoever to the water system for the residents in this area.
And can you talk about the safety for first responders who are working so close in proximity to a chemical like this?
So there's really two different types of first responders. You have the first responders for the municipalities that have arrived, and we had over 12 different communities, I think, were represented. from across the county, and we all work cooperatively. There's also the first responders that operate on behalf of the railroad. At this time, all the first responders have taken all the necessary precautions. They're all completely safe. They're well rested. They're rehabbed on a regular basis. We have a consistent process of taking personnel and getting them out of that warm zone, making sure they're taken care of, and they've gotten their snacks, they've gotten rest breaks and everything. So that's a common thing that we have, but there's two different first responders, the ones that operate for the municipalities. None of our safety resources outside of this region have really been stressed. We have a very good and robust mutual aid system that can interoperate with each other. So our emergency operations for the day-to-day operational, because keep in mind, Mrs. Smith's still going to have trouble breathing or chest pains or what have you. That's all happening as normal. We have a very low presence of the municipally based first responders. And I think that process is going very well for us.
So I'd like to add that this is going to be a slow process. It's going to be an all-day event. So updates won't come out as fast. We're really at the mercy of the product and the material, and we're taking it very methodically. We're hoping to have more information around noon. We'll get with our partners to share the information as far as any times or any updates or changes. We'll certainly make sure we get that out to you. So at this point, I would like to go ahead. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for that. And we'll get anything out to you as soon as we know different, and we'll plan on doing it.
I just have one more, just about the specifics about the train, just to kind of remind me.
Okay.
Do you know, if you can remind me how many trains were on that track at the time, how many others were carrying the styrene, how much gas was potentially in that one tanker?
That I don't know those particular specifics.
Those specifics are, again, carefully monitored and have been mitigated to reduce the risk overall.
What is your message to the people who are affected by this? 200 homes are currently being evacuated right now, or they're sheltering in place with pets and animals. And I know you're monitoring the situation, but what do you want to tell the people who have to come to a shelter like this while they just wait for these answers?
We are trying to work as quickly and safely as possible so that they can resume their daily lives.
And one quick question for you. When you're talking about the air quality, what are those numbers looking like? Is it super high? What is that threshold?
I don't know what those numbers are. The experts on the ground are actually will be providing that to us, and they're providing that information. Right now, there's no concern. There's been no expressed concern. So we'd like to keep it, share that when we know more, but there's been no expressed concern. So at this point, around 12 o'clock, we'd like to get back and reconvene. If there's any changes, we'll make sure we share that with everybody. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so you just heard from the officials there. A lot of questions tossed their way. Tank cars still being monitored and still safe to move, not giving details on what is in the air, only saying that test results of that will come later. No timetable on what later actually means.
That's right. And they actually said it would be at the mercy of what this chemical is, styrene. So as they continue the cleanup efforts and as they continue to monitor the soil and the air, we'll keep you updated as to when that could come out, when those evacuation orders could be lifted, because there really is no change for folks in that area.
Yep. So the roads will remain closed. The evacuation order will stay in place. We are at the mercy of the experts on the ground there. We will check in. They said around noon, so we have a noon show. So once again, when that does happen, we will pop back in and let you know what's going on there. So for now, from the desk, we'll send it back to regular programming.